Bangladesh is going to be one of the world's leaders in cotton recycling very soon. But our primary goal has been to get into the Bangladesh market. Our clothes are all unisex and quite minimal. We have two colorways, a darker and a lighter colorway.
The recycling industry, this itself can be a different billion-dollar industry for us.
Today, our guests are Teresa Albor and Mumit Hassan. So let us introduce Teresa to our audience first. She is a designer, entrepreneur, and activist who has been based in Bangladesh for the last 4 years. She's also a cultural producer who supports the practices of others who are committed to changing the world for good and use social enterprise as one of their tools. Teresa is also the founder and core designer of Redress. Redress is a responsible fashion brand using nearly 100% recycled cotton and polyester textiles. It's designed and produced in Bangladesh, and their collection is made from breathable textile, woven from textile waste and recycled polyester fiber. Mumit Hassan, he's the head of operations at Reverse Resources. He has more than 10 years of work experience in textile manufacturing, marketing, material and product sourcing, and many other different areas. So Reverse Resources, it's a software as a service platform to match textile waste with the best possible recycling solutions. He's supervising the company activities in Bangladesh and implementing global projects, as well as playing a key role in global brand account management. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Mumit, for being here. So the questions, the first question I'd like to start with Mumit, actually. Could you provide a brief overview of the state of cotton and polyester recycling in Bangladesh, and why is it important for the RMG sector in Bangladesh to take up recycling?
Thank you so much. It's a very good question, and thanks so much for having me here. So I think there are two questions. The first one is the potential, and the second one is, of course, the amount and the current state of the cotton and polyester recycling.
Right.
Okay, so if you look at it, I mean, Bangladesh is the second largest producer of RNG at this moment. So as we are the second largest producer of garments, it means that obviously we are the second largest producer of waste.
Right.
So we are producing a lot of waste in our production day to day on different industries that we have at this moment.
Right.
Especially in the RNG sector, of course.
Right.
So as we have so much of waste, and another thing is, I think we all know that Bangladesh is also a big destination for a lot of regular clothing. Regular clothing means a lot of uniform material, regular 100% cotton material, which in terms of, if you look from a brand perspective, it may seem to be general, that okay, 100% cotton is a regular product, but if you're looking from a waste or a recycling perspective, that's the most uniform and the most recyclable material. So from Reverse Resources side, we started our journey especially in Bangladesh because Bangladesh has the most amount of recyclable textile waste around the globe that we found. That's the best quality of recycling waste. So obviously that answers the question that if we have so much of raw materials that can be recycled, that obviously there is a big potential. And I think this was, we don't have any cotton, I mean, we have very little cotton production in Bangladesh, so we don't have our own fiber. So this actually can be a very nice alternate fiber source for us. So that's the potential in Bangladesh, and the potential is quite endless, if I can say that. The second point was the current status of the recycling industry. In Bangladesh, we of course have a lot of fiber-to-fiber recycling technologies, but mostly in the mechanical recycling arena. So if we look at it, if I make it very easy to understand, there are, I mean, if you're looking at fiber-to-fiber recycling, that you're breaking fiber down to create new fibers. Right. There are two major recycling technologies that you can look at. One is mechanical textile recycling, where you mechanically shred the material into fiber. And the other one is chemical recycling, where you just chemically break it down to regenerated cellulose or plastic or polyester chips. So these are two different technologies. In Bangladesh, we currently have mostly mechanical textile recycling for cotton. But in comparison to our total waste production, of course, it's very limited. I mean, even if we are giving optimistic figures, it's a little more than 5%. I think we have the capacity right now to recycle the waste that we're producing. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes. So the next question I would like to ask Teresa, you're the designer and founder of Redress. So what does Redress aim to do as a brand? What is its vision really?
Well, you just heard Mumit talk about this incredible potential of recycling cotton in Bangladesh. And so we started thinking about how can we promote this? In what way can we promote this as designers? And we like to say that Redress is actually an environmental nonprofit organization disguised as a responsible fashion brand.
Right.
Because the reason we exist is to what we would call proof of concept, to design a collection using nearly 100% recycled fiber textiles, just to show that it can be done. And also there are two other reasons. One is to we use it as a kind of way of drawing attention to the potential of Bangladesh and the fact that there's actually some momentum here where Bangladesh could become the world's largest cotton recycling hub. So we want to draw attention to that story, and it works. A lot of people see the collection because we have a retailer in London, and they say, "Oh, a good news story for Bangladesh," and then we invite them here. We invite them to go see the recycling plants, talk to people within the industry. And then the other reason is that we really believe in the Bangladeshi consumer, that they're interested in responsible fashion. So we're producing a clothing line which is available at Arong, Yellow, and Friendship Color of the Chars, where the Bangladeshi consumer we hope, affordable price point, the Bangladeshi consumer can invest in responsible fashion.
Right. So, since we're talking about Redress and its journey, so I mean, what are the biggest obstacles that Redress has faced in establishing its business model in Bangladesh?
Well, like any fashion brand, it's like pushing water uphill. It's a big project. You have to do two things. You have to have a good product, and we have been very lucky because the R&D departments of several factories have been incredibly generous and worked with us. So we've said, why not? So we've said we want a nearly 100% recycled fiber textile using cotton and polyester. And people have said, what about 50% recycled? And we've said, no, 100%.
Right.
Close so we can get to 100%. So there's been this push and pull. It takes time and patience, but people have been patient. So I would consider that a challenge rather than an obstacle.
Right.
And then, like any fashion brand, we're operating right now with very small production runs. But our aim is that this is very scalable. So the idea is that once the factories we work with have developed these textiles, they're free to use it with big buyers who come in and buy 50,000 T-shirts. We're doing 400, 500 piece runs. But we're ambitious. We just need that one big order somewhere, and we can fill it. But the challenge has been, how do you start from zero?
Right.
And then the second side of it is creating the demand. So luckily we have an excellent team that's doing our sort of social media and outreach. We also give talks in schools. BGMEA at Made in Bangladesh gave us a stall to promote the idea of our brand in cotton recycling. So there's a lot of work to be done so people know we exist.
Right.
And then go out and seek our products. So it's a big multifaceted ambition to do this.
Great. I mean, we absolutely agree with you. Definitely Redress will grow in future and in much bigger scale. Yeah, that's the hope. So, Teresa, are you wearing one of your
I am,
Redress
yes.
outfits today?
Thank you for asking. This is what we call our retro shirt. Our clothes are all unisex.
Right.
So I think I just banged my microphone, but anyway. Our clothes are all unisex and quite minimal. We have two colorways, a darker and a lighter colorway. And we say that you bring the bling. So you bring your personality, your own accessories, and so on. We're trying to create clothing that isn't sort of seasonal and trendy. That's very wasteful. So we have clothes that we hope people invest in and wear over time and don't go out of style. This is our wide leg trouser, which to our surprise is one of our best sellers.
Looks very comfortable,
It's-
looks very breathable. Like,
Deep pockets. Everything has deep pockets, and the shirt can be knotted up or tucked in. It looks great on. We had a teenage boy modeling it and a 70-year-old woman modeling it for our campaign. And
yes, all the redress outfits, they look very comfortable, and they look really great. So we'll be asking the next question to Mumit, because it's on reverse resources. So
Yes.
what service does reverse resources offer to the textile sector stakeholders in Bangladesh? And what gap in the market does it address?
Wow, thank you. So basically, as you said, Reverse Resources, we are a software as a service platform. So what we have built is we have built an online platform where factories, recyclers, brands, waste handlers, everyone can come together and they can just find the best valorization of the waste so that it can be recycled in the best possible way. Yeah. So what we are doing in that case, I'll answer the second question first, that who we are working with. We are working with everyone in regards to who's related to the waste supply chain. So we are working with the factories who are mainly the producers of waste. We are working with the brands who are basically giving orders to the factories. So we are working with a lot with them. We are also working with these companies that we call waste handlers, who are preparing the waste that can go to the recycling. So, and of course, we're working with the recyclers. The recyclers are in general that they're making recycled products out of waste. The waste handlers are companies, some formal companies, who are actually helping preparing the waste so that it can enter the recycler's warehouse. How they're helping. So basically, the factories, when they're producing the waste, that is still not ready to be directly fed into a recycling machine. It maybe needs to be further checked. It needs to be further modified. It needs to be baled. Yeah.
Right.
What from Reverse Resources we have been preaching since our inception is we have been trying to teach and train the factories and how you can pre-segregate your waste so that from the cutting section itself it can be segregated. But it still isn't 100% ready to be directly fed into a recycling machine. So it needs a little bit of further
Lots of steps involved.
a bit of quality checking and this and that.
Right.
This can either be done by the recycler, or if a recycler doesn't have the capacity to do it, then we have these companies who can help provide these very important services. So we are working with all these different stakeholders. And from our side, what we are doing basically in the textile waste supply chain, the journey of the textile waste is, a bit, let's just say it's less known. We all know that we are producing a lot of waste, but where it's going, we don't really have much clue about the end destination. So what we are doing is we are supporting the brands, the factories, the recyclers in knowing the journey, that the recyclers can know where their waste has come from. So that, of course, we have demonstrated that when the reverse resources process, that we call it, that when the factories pre-segregate the waste and that is traced to our digital platform, automatically the quality of recycled materials get better because the feedstock is in a better quality, right?
Right.
So what we have done is we have addressed that gap, that you can actually better the quality of the feedstock in the recycling end. Automatically that will make the quality of the recycled material better.
Right.
And we have different recyclers in our network who are openly saying that.
Right.
The other thing is the transparency of waste will give an opportunity to create different close the loop supply chains. So let's just say redress. They're producing a lot of, they're producing garment in a certain factory. They are also producing waste in that particular cutting section, or different sections you're producing waste. If you trace it through the reverse resources platform, there is an opportunity that Teresa sitting here through the platform can know that if her waste can be sent to a certain recycler,
Right.
and that material that has been recycled from her production waste can be brought back into the supply chain. So that is what we call the circularity, or the circular economy, or the closing the loop supply chain.
Right.
So these sort of opportunities and these sort of commercial collaborations is what we are also doing with, of course, we are doing with Redress, but we are doing with a lot of different brands currently.
Right.
So yeah, that's basically what we're doing.
Right. So the next question, it's both of you can answer if you want. So how does this partnership between Redress and Reverse Resources work? And through this partnership, what are the key learnings?
Well, I think great minds think alike, if I want to flatter us. And we designers were tackling this problem, and we were doing some research, and we were uncovering this great potential. And I was actually in Copenhagen at a big, what was the name of the
Global Fashion Summit?
The Global Fashion Summit, which is inside the ready-to-wear industry. It's like a self-regulation attempt to be more responsible. And I went to this panel, and Muma was speaking, and I was like, we need to find this guy. We had to come all the way to Copenhagen to, he knows so much about this, and what Reverse Research is doing. That's all the information that we want to feed to the world through our product. So we got together, and on the Redress website, you click through to our information page, and we have a shared spreadsheet where Reverse populates it with the latest figures of, at the moment, the 5 major recyclers in Bangladesh, how much they're recycling each month. But not only that, a contact person, a phone number. So either if you are in the industry and want to make contact, you can do that.
Right.
Or if you're a journalist, we've supplied you all the information, all the background information you need, because not only is that chart there, but a lot of information about recycling in Bangladesh. And as I said, the real goal of Redress is to put forward this idea that Bangladesh is going to be one of the world's leaders in cotton recycling very soon.
I would like to echo what Teresa said. I mean, it was a happy accident that we both reside in Dhaka and we met in Copenhagen. But the idea is, of course, that the opportunity that Redress has brought up in the context of Bangladeshi consumers, because let's just say that our consumers, we can be better. I won't say that we don't know enough. I'll just say that we can be better educated or better known about the current situation with the opportunities of recycled materials and all that. And I really thank Teresa for trying to build that concept also in Bangladesh so that the consumers here can know. And we see ourselves being like this partner of knowledge sharing and collaborating together. So that's what we are trying to do.
Sounds like it has been great for
both
of you
it has
so
been nice.
far. Right. So again, Mumit, if you could answer to this question. So does it make business sense for a large supplier to produce garments using recycled fiber in Bangladesh? Like, what would be your take on this?
All right. So the thing is that currently, if you look at the industry, everywhere you see that new regulations are coming up in regards to using more recycled materials or more conscious materials. And there are different regulations, let's just say in the European Commission that's coming up. And all these regulations mean that the different brands who are the main buyers of the materials or the RMG that we're currently producing, they will also have new targets. So you see all these big brands coming up with a really new set of targets in regards to recycled materials, that you have to reach this amount of recycled materials by 2025, by 2030, by a certain limit. You have to be absolutely, you cannot use any material other than coming from conscious sources. So in this situation, I think it is critical for our manufacturers. And I see that the big manufacturers, as you mentioned, they're already catching up to the opportunity of using more and more recycled materials, because that is, other than this, there is, I attended a session recently in an event, and it was being said by the EU ambassador that there can be discussions of possibilities of that, because if you can't use a certain amount of recycled materials, you won't get entry to a certain market. These things can also come up. Right. So the ramifications can be pretty serious. And from Bangladesh as well, I think we are known for adapting to new practices, because I think we have the largest number of green factories. We have the best best scored green factory in Bangladesh. So we have a knack for doing better things. And I think in that regard, and as there's certainly a demand, we definitely have a lot of potential, and we have to use more recycled materials.
Waste, it's no longer just a concept. So many brands are into it, so many companies are doing it, even in Bangladesh. So obviously,
just to make it very simple, it's demand driven. So you have the consumers who are now saying, hey, I want to be responsible.
Yeah.
Then you have governments legislating, right? So there's the demand. The buyers come here and they say, hey, we need more recycled fiber in these textiles here, making our clothes out of. And the manufacturers, especially here, the Bangladeshi manufacturers are incredibly responsive. And so, redress, our USP, our unique selling point is that we're made of nearly 100% recycled fiber. But you know what? In a few years, that won't be our unique selling point. We will no longer need to have this fashion brand because it'll be common. It'll be a normal thing. We're very happy to lose our unique selling point. That's what we want to see happen.
Like all the brands doing exactly what Redress is doing right now.
That's common.
Right. So another potential and challenges question for Mumit. So what potential does Bangladesh hold for becoming a global supplier of recycled materials, and what are the main challenges?
All right. So first talk about the good things, then we can talk about the challenges. All right. So when we look at the potential, I think we've already discussed about it, that we have this huge quantity of recyclable material, recyclable waste in Bangladesh. So that is there. And also we are the second largest producer of garments. So if you look at it, I mean, currently what we are doing, we are creating all this waste. We are currently exporting a lot of it outside the country, and then we are also bringing in buying a lot of yarn because we don't have our own cotton. So that's like a counterproductive situation that we are currently in. But what we can do is, if we recycle the material here, we have the users right here. We have the factories here who are producing for these different brands, and we have all the production here. So what you can do is, very easily, without impacting the environment by this additional transportation, you can just recycle the material here, feed it directly into a factory, and then produce garments, and then you can take it away. And that's something that we can really look into. Currently, I mean, of course, the post-industry, I mean, if you're looking, again, let's go a little bit into the technical side. So waste can be two categories. One can be what we call a post-industrial or a pre-consumer waste. A post-industrial waste is what is coming from an industry, what waste is generated in an industry during the production process. And there is, of course, the post-consumer waste. Post-consumer waste is when the consumers, after using a garment, rather than throwing it away, they recycle it. So there are these two different streams. In the post-industrial waste side, you can already see that we have a lot of material, we have a lot of potential, and we see that post-industrial waste is actually more recyclable than post-industrial in many cases, because let's just say that it has seen less wear and tear. Post-consumer waste has definitely gone through a lot of washing cycle and this and that. So in that aspect, post-industrial waste is more recyclable, and we have a lot of it. So as we have a lot of waste, we have all the producers, so we have all the people who can use the recycled materials here. It's a no-brainer that we have a big opportunity with that, and we can definitely become a cotton recycling hub, in a sense, because we are also one of the biggest users of cotton in the world. So we can definitely have a recycling industry, and at some point we can even look into the opportunity of bringing used garments, post-consumer waste, and recycle it. We see that it's happening a lot in countries like Pakistan, who are currently doing a lot of post-consumer recycling. I don't see a reason why we can't do it as well.
What is the incentive for factories to sell their scraps to recyclers? And like I said, why would they be interested in doing it?
When we are looking at a factory, basically their waste, what is waste? Waste is just a byproduct of a production process. We're calling it waste because when you don't find a good use case of it, that's waste. But if you have a good use case for it, it's no longer a waste, it's a resource. If you ask a recycler, that's their primary raw material. So to them, to you it can be, or to a factory it can be a waste, but to a recycler, it's very valuable raw materials, right? So of course, I mean, if a factory works with a recycler, there is an opportunity of that you get the, and of course you can get our support for traceability. You can know that your waste is actually being recycled. If factories, we have seen that in many a case, if a factory is pre-segregating their waste, pre-segregating means they're actually segregating the waste by different colors and compositions. That really improves the value of the waste, so that there is, of course, an opportunity for getting better financial incentive. And eventually, more importantly, if you can actually say that, okay, I'm a factory, I know that my waste is being recycled, rather than saying that I don't know where my waste is going. I think the former easily beats the latter.
And I just want to add that I mentioned earlier, Redress has had the very generous participation of various factories, and the senior management people in these factories, obviously the bottom line is making money. This is commercial enterprise.
Of course.
But these people care. These people really are concerned about the environment. They really want to do the right thing. And if it's also cost effective to do that, and it's and the incentive being that, like European legislation now is demanding it, they really want to do it for all the right reasons. There's no holding them back. There's no one who says, oh, I don't want to change, or I just want to keep doing it the way we've been doing it. I haven't seen any resistance to that. It's only a matter of, transitions, can be bumpy, and, figuring out how to go from the way things have been done to this new way of thinking about cotton. And I love the way you've said, it's only called waste because it's not being used.
Exactly.
Once it's used, it's no longer waste, is it? So, to start thinking about it as this valuable input into the garment making industry here.
Right, this thought needs to change, and like Mumit said, there's great potential, and we believe there's a lot of good things happening in future. So yeah, so Teresa, if you could also answer, how is the appetite for clothes made from high quality recycled fiber in Bangladesh, and I mean, what's the state globally, and are global buyers actually interested in sourcing recycled products from Bangladesh? Like, what's the state?
Well, again, there's been some sort of great moments where when we first had the collection, I was in the UK and I decided to go to a couple London retailers and just do some sort of focus groups with them and see what they thought. And the first retailer I went to was a great boutique called 69B in Broadway Market, right next to a vegan restaurant and a great bookshop. And I was talking to the owners, and they were like, oh, made in Bangladesh. That's interesting. We haven't, this is a great story coming out of Bangladesh. It's very, it's very progressive and so on. And I was saying, what else do you like about it? And the cut and the colors and things like that. And they said, no, we like this, we like this. So we'd like to order 100 pieces. Oops, sorry, I'm doing it again. We were not ready for that. We were like, oh, okay, sure, of course. And so that's how we got our first UK retailer at a boutique level, which is great. And they have been so supportive. But our primary goal has been to get into the Bangladesh market. And Redress is really excited that we are working with Arong now through their Taga brand. We're working with Yellow. And we have a new collaboration with Friendship Colors of the Chars, because we kind of feel like part of the whole question of responsible fashion is, why are we making clothes and shipping them across the world for someone else to wear? We think there's a big market for these clothes here in Bangladesh, 20 miles down the road from the factories. And so we're really focused on that as part of our philosophy of being responsible. And so far, we've just launched locally. The sales were great over the weekend. We hope they're going to pick up over Eid, because everyone goes out and buys clothes. And we also, prior to this, we've been selling in pop-ups. We had a pop-up at the Dhaka Art Summit, and we sold several hundred pieces. We sold out. We had 14 pieces left at the end of the Dhaka Art Summit. We couldn't keep up with the demand. So we know the demand is there for a modern, clean, minimal design of responsible clothes. And it'll grow, I think, word of mouth. I think young people here care. They do care about where their clothes are coming from.
I do agree with you. So, you were mentioning to me earlier that Redress has a very affordable price range. So can recycled clothes become more affordable in the future? Because currently I think most of us think that recycled clothes are probably a bit more expensive than regular clothes. Is it the right concept, or what do you think? And also, Mumit, if you could answer after her.
Yeah, sure, please.
At the point of production, to be honest, it's not completely cross neutral. It costs a little bit more to weave or knit with a recycled yarn because you have to run your machines a little bit slower, and in this industry, speed is everything.
Right.
But it's actually not a material difference because a lot of the other cost comes in terms of the design, distribution, and so on and so forth. And the way we operate is our retailers work directly with the factories, and Redress is a sort of we're a social enterprise. We take no profit at all. So we provide our advice and consultancy at no charge to anyone, and we take a little bit of the percentage of the factory sales to cover some of our costs, and it gets donated back into responsible fashion. So we're a social enterprise, which, by the way, Bangladesh kind of invented through BRAC and the Grameen
Right.
Bank and so on and so forth. And so, that's the role that we play. But the margins in general are very low, so that our prices are competitive with other good quality clothes that are sold here in Bangladesh.
Okay.
Thanks, Teresa. That was really nice insight. I would just like to add a little bit with it. So, if you look at the current situation, if you look on a material level purely, you see that there is actually an opportunity for cost reduction. Because if you're looking on a material level, the virgin material is definitely more expensive than recycled material. If you look on a material level, generally. But what happens is definitely that machine speed needs to be limited. There is there are issues, of course, with quality found, breakages and all that. I'm a textile engineer, so going to the technicalities a little bit.
Sorry, if you could also say what virgin materials are.
So virgin materials,
some of the audience may not know.
So the virgin materials means general cotton, regular cotton,
Okay.
or regular polyester, which is not recycled. So virgin materials means that you've particularly grown for consumption, and recycled is, of course, that you have recycled certain waste. Now, for virgin materials, of course, it's much easier and the machine speed is better, the quality is better. For recycled material, it's a bit less, also because when the waste is not properly segregated, when the waste is not properly handled, obviously the material out of it won't be very good. I mean, if you put a comparatively lower quality raw material in, of course, the end product will reflect that. We have, from our side, we can say that we've worked with certain recyclers, and we've seen that when you implement a pre-segregation, when you implement a certain level of traceability, transparency, the quality of material, the quality of waste or the raw material that goes in the recycling machines, the quality of recycled products gets much better. So of course, currently the prices are a bit high because of course the cost of production is high. Maybe the recycled materials, to get this properly sorted, segregated, and finally get the recycled material, it can be a bit more expensive. But eventually what we see that if this process can be properly utilized and implemented, the quality of, as Teresa was saying, that if a production house is running their machines at a lower state, they're running at lower productivity, and that has a cost.
Right.
If that cost isn't there, automatically you see that margin, that additional price, eventually that can go away. So there is a potential of course, there is a cost in many cases. In any industry, when you do something on a scale, when you scale something on a primary level, there is an additional cost.
Right.
But of course, eventually there is an opportunity that it can be put into the process itself.
Because if you think about the slight additional cost in running the machine slower, that's well offset by the difference in bringing in virgin cotton and the cost of virgin cotton versus this cotton waste that costs virtually nothing.
Right.
But again, it's all about getting it scaled up and the system running smoothly, and the potential is there that it will become cost neutral or even less expensive eventually.
So that is the end of our interview. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Mumit. Anything else you would like to add? Anything else you would like to say for the audience?
Well, we just invite everyone to visit our retailers here in Bangladesh, try out the clothes, let us know what you think. We're very interested to hear what the users of the clothes think and how we can improve.
Thank you so much again for having me and here in this discussion. It's been really lovely talking to all of you, and it's always a pleasure speaking with Teresa. So to the audience, I would like to say that definitely there is a lot of potential when it comes to the recycling industry. This itself can be a different billion-dollar industry for us. So yeah, I know that because everyone is so focused on it, there is definitely a lot of positive things happening, and looking forward to the future, what holds for us. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That was the end of our interview with Teresa Albor and Mumit Hassan. Thank you for staying with TBS.